Now that we're just over 2 months into the 2024 season, let's get some optimism in the room regardless of where your team is on the ladder. I've come up with a way that your team can win the AFL Premiership based on how they're playing right now and their means of improvement. So like the video if you like the video. It helps so much more than I can bring across to you in one simple sentence. Subscribe if you haven't already to keep up to date with future content. And fingers crossed you enjoy yourselves. Let's go. If you can figure out the order that these teams are in, I will somewhat come up with a prize for you, somehow, some way. But let's start with Gold Coast, who are third for inside 50s, but bottom 4 for scoring from their inside 50. So a bit more conversion is going to be key for Damien Hardwick's boys. Their defence the last month or so, and especially outside of Heritage Bank Stadium, has just not been good enough. I still think they rely too much on Matt Rowell and Touk Miller. Yes, Noah Anderson has been fantastic for the last 16 months. I still think they need a bit more aggressive forward rotation in their midfield mix. Think of like an Isaac Rankin type, and I'm not saying that to be facetious in the slightest, but some more speed off the ball, either coming off that back flank with Flanders, who's done a pretty good job of doing that, or someone else, a Malcolm Roses, someone like that could bring an injection into some centre bounces to break up momentum, I think would be the way forward for the Suns. Getting on a run in the back end could lead them towards some real final success. From one coast to the other coast, let's go to West Coast. And let's be honest, they'll need somewhat of a Bradbury here, but elite health for the Eagles would be key, as well as their kids coming on in leap and bound. Let's be honest, they're not winning the flag, but we want to bring some optimism in. They've already exceeded expectations. Harley is what I think most people who were loving him thought he was going to be. He'll be rested throughout the year. He'll have some extraordinary games, some not so good games, but for right now, he gets an absolute tick. No problem there at all, and the West Coast will keep on keeping on with their natural improvement, but they really need Yo and McGovern healthy for them to make any kind of run out of the bottom 4, let alone for a flag. Carlton have only got one real weakness when it comes to putting that score on the board versus their ability to defend, and that's out of their back half. They are doing really well in their rebound 50 rate and their ability to stop opposition scoring off their own turnover, and they're second in the competition from scoring from stoppage, I should say. They are fifth in the competition for scoring off turnover, but they are bottom 6 in the league from scoring from their back half. So if guys like Wiedering, McGovern, Sard when he comes back, Ollie Hollands, their wingers, Blake Acres, who can score launch out of their back half. If Carlton can add that string to their bow, and I'm not suggesting they need to be top 5 in every area, but if they can also get some scoreboard momentum later in games by scoring out of their back half and setting up those chains, they could be the number 2 seed behind the Swans, and I think that stat alone tells you how important Adam Sard is to the Blue Baggers. That's hard to say. Melbourne have one of the best backlines in the league, no doubt. With May and Lever, I've loved what Judd McVie has been able to do this year, and Trent Rivers quietly going about his business as one of the more underrated players in the competition. Would it surprise you to note that Melbourne are not a good one-on-one defensive unit, though? Because it surprises me. Their forward line needs as much help as they can get and some easier ball. And whilst just their intercept possessions are going relatively okay, especially in their own defensive 50, it's not leading anywhere. Scoring is going to be Melbourne's kryptonite. They're not top 6 in scoring from any of the 4 sources that you can score from, that being kick-in, stoppage, turnover, or your defensive half. And you could somewhat say, well, they're going this well, and some could say that they're really concerned. But right now, Melbourne look like a team that are definitely going to play finals and definitely not play in a grand final. I think that can be changed, though, really quickly. The first one being stop kicking it tall into your forward line, open up pockets of space, and if you are going to kick it long, aim for the pockets, create stoppages, and let Petrarca, Oliver, and Viney go to work. And it's another good way you can get Tom Sparrow involved as well, who I think is going okay without lining it up like I reckon he can do. Port Adelaide, and that's kind of the background that I didn't actually intentionally do for this video, but hey, let's go with the aesthetic, why not? They need to kick accurately. Pronto at this point in time. Now, their 15-11 does mean that they are relatively 50-50 at the moment. From memory, and someone will probably correct me on this, please do, I don't mind, but I believe they're now at 123 goals, 124 behinds. And that's already going to kill you. And for a midfield as good as theirs, with the aforementioned Connor Rozee, Zach Butters, Willem Drew, Jason Horne-Francis, these guys that can roll through, they're not a good stoppage team in terms of retaining territory and scoring. If Port Adelaide are going to win the flag, and in order to win finals, their midfield group need to be contributing more to their scores. They're not at the moment. It is the next point of improvement, though. I'm a buyer of Port Adelaide stock. I'm not going to lie to you. If only I'd had the balls to tip them against the Cats. I absolutely did not. So much so I put money on the Cats. So up yours, Daz, is what Port Adelaide said to me. But definitely generating some scores from their midfielders. As we know, Rozee and Butters can put that score on the board. Horne-Francis is that high half forward. He's doing it as well. But the more scores they can take away from their forwards, the better, which I know sounds strange, but the more opportunities the midfielders are getting, the less pressure is on Georgiades and Marshall to kick the winning score themselves, which they just can't do consistently. Well, the Bulldogs, I know some people are going to bash the Dogs. Look, you win a game by 91 points in this league and still cop criticism. I can't really cop that. They responded, they needed to, they did. Are all their problems fixed? Of course not, but some credit would be relatively decent, I would have thought, for crying out loud. But how the Dogs can win the flag, again, of course, it would involve going on a massive run, as we know. The Bulldogs are one of the worst teams in the competition for giving up scores in their back half off turnover. So if they're turning the ball over in their front half, which, let's be honest, if there's one spot on the ground you're going to turn the ball over, your forward 50 is the best spot to do it. You have 3/4 of a field, 2/3 of a field to get the ball back. They just don't, and I'm convinced it's because their accumulative ball-winning midfielders are just not working hard enough back to get the ball. Hawthorn turned the ball over in their defensive half, the Bulldogs' forward half, 11 times because of the lack of pressure. Pressure on the ball carrier against better teams is going to give the Bulldogs a chance to win more games and go on a run. And can you imagine the footy world imploding if the Bulldogs won the flag this year? Holy shit. GWS were definitely the front runners coming out of the first 6 weeks of the season. So what's changed? Couple of losses in a row, and publicly Toby Green is getting a little bit of criticism, which, one man doesn't make a team. But of course he can lift. But getting back to a lot of what they were doing, they were the best team in the competition for turning stoppage clearances into scores. Nowhere near that in the last couple of weeks. Their forward line at the moment is functioning iffy. I think a lot of credit has to go to the Bombers for that, especially. And the Blues did it really well not too long ago, and we know how well the Swans went only a fortnight ago. But the Giants at the moment, with Lockie Ash and Josh Kelly out, are going to miss a bit of that outside spark, that outside run. Lockie Whitfield is going to need to hold that down, and he's effectively been defensively tagged, or offensively tagged, I should say, in the last fortnight. So the Giants at the moment have got to fight through a relative slump, keep finding their depth players, which they're doing, but their big guns need to stand up a little bit more. And once they're healthy in the back third of a season, play to their strengths, which no one in this competition, maybe apart from their friends in New South Wales, play to their strengths better, more brutally. Collingwood are relatively sexy when they're on, but Collingwood don't really smack teams all that much. GWS can beat you by 100 if you're 10% off. Geelong, well, 7-0, now 7-2. They just need a healthy midfield in order to be a contender. Their system works. Tom Hawkins needs to kick some snags. He's not going to play in Darwin, it doesn't look like at this point in time, so he'll get rested. And even if the Cats lose that, they'll be 7-3. This will be their little slump, and I reckon they'll be fine at this point. They do need some offense and defense in their midfield. I know they've been depleted, but hopefully Cam Guthrie can find some form. But all the Cats need to do at this point is play themselves into a top 4 spot. No one will want to play them come finals time. And if they're healthy, it's going to be a really fun top 4, top 6 even, depending on where you've got Sydney, the Giants, Carlton, Collingwood, and even someone like a Melbourne. It's going to be a really fun back end of the year, and the Cats are as good as anyone. But if they lose a couple of cogs in that midfield, they're done. Adelaide, my friend turned enemy in not a lover's story. Those fans of romance novels out there, my goodness, this is not enemies to lovers. I would argue it's lovers to enemies at this point in time. It's if you read a smutty book backwards at this point in time. The Crows are second in the competition for contested ball, which is extraordinary. They're 4th for total clearances. They're 11th for scores per inside 50. I mean, fix that, you'll go on a run. Can they clone Isaac Rankin? That would be pretty handy, I would have thought. But they need continuous speed on the ball in movement, get some reward on the scoreboard and be able to put some teams away, because it really is the missing ingredient at the moment. And some health down back would be pretty damn handy as well. For the Bombers and Bombers fans, I'm on your side. Third on the ladder, fantastic. The draw is an amazing result for you. If you lose that game, you'd be 7th. You've got the 13th best percentage in the league. And you know what? Who gives a damn? You're third on the ladder, you're flying, which is awesome. Not a top 7 side in any scoring source in the comp. So that tells me that natural improvement and in-game adjustments are going okay without being perfect. And if you're telling me they've got this scope of improvement in them, whilst being third on the ladder, with a pretty decent draw coming home, I know that there was a champion data thing where it's got the strength of difficulty with Essendon having the hardest fixture. They barely leave Victoria. So I'm not really copping that. You got to beat good teams to get a good spot on the ladder. And if the Bombers can do that, they're going to be flying. Their midfield still needs to function. Their forward line definitely is the worry for mine. They've got to find some more goal kickers. It can't just be Kyle Langford at the moment, which visually it seems like Peter Wright's got to get involved. What's happening with a second tall forward? Not a whole lot. But right now their defense is going okay with Ridley to come back. And their midfield is going beautifully, led by, at worst, the vice-captain of the All-Australian team in Zach Merritt. So the Bombers, keep doing what you're doing, continually get better, and if you go on a run, who the hell bloody knows? St Kilda. Fucking score. They're third from scoring from their defensive half. They're shit at the other two. And the amount of defensive and offensive one-on-ones they win, they're top 6 in the league for both those stats. They win the ball nearly better than anyone in a contest. And they don't score. Ben King is currently third on the Coleman medal. And if you ask some St Kilda fans, they want Max King playing in the VFL. Risk getting 90 kicked on you. Try kicking 100. Give it a go. It can't be worse than what you've served up the last few weeks. But crying out loud. I feel for you, Saints fans, I really do. Sydney, keep improving. You're the best team in the competition. So as long as you stay as relatively healthy as you can, you're in the box seat here. Sorry that this is boring analysis, and I really want to do a deep dive video on you to give you the justice you deserve. But right now, in this type of formatted video, keep doing what you're doing, keep improving. Don't stay stagnant. If I can use the Clarko Shark analogy, if you stay still, other teams will pass you and you'll die off. Right now, you've got a lead in the marathon, but we are only at the 10-kilometre mark. There's 32 to go. Good luck. Fremantle, fucking score. We're back to scoring. 4-0, scoring 70 plus. And again, I stand by the free pass in the Sydney game, so this is not directed at that, so don't turn this into something that it isn't. But they are bottom 8 in the competition from nearly every score source. So unless they can figure out how to score, they're going to be nowhere. Because when they score 70 plus, they're the new 2000 Bombers squad. That's sarcasm, by the way, but still undefeated. Keep on scoring. Josh Tracy's kicked a goal in every game, which I think is pretty cool too. The Hawks, they won't, but hey, it's fun to dream. But considering that Mitch Lewis is frustrating the hell out of Hawthorn fans, and I'm sure he is too. It's nothing personal, but this is going to be another year, like every other year of his career, where he won't play more than 15 games, and he's going to be 26, I think, at the start of round 1 next year, so that's a little frustrating. We've seen awesome glimpses from Cole Shadir. Hawthorn fans hate Marbior Chol more than they absolutely should for what he brings to the table, averaging over a contested mark a game, over 4 marks a game. He's second at the club, I think, for average tackles. So I think he's overhated in that regard. But for the Hawks to win the flag, it would be a perfect storm. I know they won't, but they need to be included for the job title. Well, the video title, really. North Melbourne, Dewar Bradbury. Somehow 17 other clubs are going to have to be exposed for performance-enhancing drugs. But as I've said with North, and I won't shy away from this, their kids are not the problem. How are North going to win a flag? Their kids need to get 4 years older, and their more experienced, useless pricks need to go out the door. Simple. Brisbane, sort out your tall forwards. Will Ashcroft will come into this midfield and add a spark, so no real problem there. And I thought Andrews and Jack Payne played pretty well against the Crows, so they're okay. But Joe and Eric, they go missing when Brisbane aren't going too well, and that's a massive shame for Brisbane. I still think they need to get a little bit healthier. Some of them with the ACLs is just not going to happen. I understand that. And getting games into guys like Logan Morris is going to be a plus for sure. But for the guys that are playing that are relatively healthy, we'll need to go to an absolute another level in order for them to get on a run. I was really interested to see how they played against the Crows, and they played like a team with their back against the wall. And look, them versus the world might be the kick in the arse they need, considering they're not just going to be at the top of the ladder for the entire season. Try and turn a negative into a positive, I reckon. Richmond, they won't. Their injury list is extraordinary. Sorry, Tigers fans, but you've had your fun. I know you understand that. You're just not. Impossible. Same with North. And look, some other clubs as well. And I don't say this facetiously. This just ain't it. But it's the first year of your rebuild, and Adam Uze is not the problem. Collingwood, keep on keeping on. They are flying at the moment, except they are bottom 4 in scoring from their defensive half. Now, some of that will be that they like taking territory or even creating stoppages between the forward arcs. And also because they don't have the big hulking tall forwards, it's not as if they're able to transition quickly. Lachie Schultz probably hasn't brought the form that he needed to, but he did get suspended, so we'll see how that goes when he comes back. They played fast, exciting footy against the Eagles. They're going to be one of the better sides in the competition, but they're coming in a massive way, the Pies. So keep doing what they're doing, keep improving, keep striving, and when they're healthy in the back end of the year, no one is going to want to play the reigning Premier either. So what do you guys think? How will your club win the flag? Who is your Premiership favourite right now if you had to put your life on it? Comment below, let me know, because I love talking to you guys. Enjoy your week. Keep up to date with the YouTube shorts and reacting to them so more people can see them. If you want to follow me on TikTok at Daz Talks Footy, go do that as well. Stay well, you absolute fucking legends. Look after each other, and I'll see you after an amazing round of footy.